Hi all, Yankee farm wife here. This one's for RFK Jr. Oh, Bobby, you dumb shit. You aren't just an extreme embarrassment to your family. No. You are a festering pile of vomit, plaguing our nation with your ignorance and arrogance. I want to give you leeway because of your decades of heroin addiction, that brainworm thing, and, Harvard, which my husband added to the list, but shh, Harvard. Thanks for showing Columbia what real balls look like. Columbia crumbled when our bully in chief threatened to withhold money. Real tears. After that, I wouldn't let my grandchildren go there on a full scholarship. I want them to go with principals and balls. So embarrassing. But back to our other national embarrassment. Bobby Jr. held a press conference and cited the growing numbers of kids with autism in our country, which is real. He talks about autism deniers, tries to pin environmental factors as the cause.
This is a preventable disease. We know it's an environmental exposure. It has to be. Genes do not cause epidemics. They can provide a vulnerability. You need an environmental toxin.
And insinuates that vaccines are to blame, which is anecdotal, but whatever. What he's really saying is parents' poor decisions are to blame for their child's condition because parents of autistic kids don't have enough to deal with.
And we have to recognize we are doing this to our children, and we need to put an end to it.
Scientific research, which we used to do in this country, points to genetics as being the primary cause, like 90% of the time.
Secretary Kennedy, Amanda Sates with the Associated Press. Some of the CDC's own research has concluded that there's a genetic link at play with autism. Are you saying today that you don't trust that research or that it was wrong? Could you expand a little bit more on that?
No, there is, we have really good genetic markers now, and they provide a vulnerability. But those genetic markers alone are not going to dictate your destiny. You need an environmental toxin. The amount of money and resources put into studying genetic causes, which is a dead end. Listen, with many people smoke cigarettes, and only 1 in 5 died from lung cancer. There were 4 of them that didn't. And those were the ones that had some circumstances, probably genetic, that made them more susceptible to it.
Science has shown no link whatsoever between the MMR vaccine and autism numbers continue to climb despite declining vaccination rates. Thank you from all the people with measles right now. I will add that a real peer-reviewed paper was published in the Annals of Internal Medicine in 2019 that showed the incidence of autism in vaccinated and unvaccinated children is virtually the same. Bobby boy, fear-mongering is an ugly way to get attention. How about just throwing a temper tantrum in the toy aisle at Walmart instead? But here's what really got to me.
25% of the kids who are diagnosed with autism are nonverbal, non-toilet trained, and have other stereotypical features, head banging, tactile and light sensitivities, stimming, toe walking, etc. This is an individual tragedy as well. Autism destroys families. More importantly, it destroys our greatest resource, which are our children. And these are kids who will never pay taxes. They'll never hold a job. They'll never play baseball. They'll never write a poem. They'll never go out on a date. Many of them will never use a toilet unassisted.
You are making assertions that are not true. How dare you? Head of Health and Human Services for the formerly great US of A, and you have the nerve to flat out lie at a press conference?
It just takes a little common sense. Why are we not seeing it in older people? Why is this only happening in young people? I'm 71 years old. Where are these people walking around the mall? You can't find them. They're not in homes. There are no homes for them. There are no institutions for them. Why are we seeing them on the street? Anybody can look around and see that this is a canard. Clearly, there are industries. This is coming from an environmental toxin. And somebody made a profit by putting that environmental toxin into our air, our water, our medicines, our food. And it's to their benefit to say, oh, to normalize it.
Who have you been hanging out with? Dictator Trump? President Muskie? But let's examine your hold a job statement. Do you know that not every autistic child is profoundly affected? Or do you? New estimates are that 26.7% of the total have profound autism, but that means that 73.3% are functioning anywhere from average to genius, with some of the usual autism quirks mixed in. Now, if I were a kid in the 80s, I would have been on the spectrum in a heartbeat. No social skills, none. Was incapable of speaking outside my family and some trusted friends for probably my first 10 years. Terrible anxiety, very disorganized. If I hadn't been so smart, I'd have been in classroom number 1 with the other nonverbal kids. I'm still a social loser, but I have decent acting skills, so I squeak by. Now, my son Matt will be the first to tell you he'd have been diagnosed with Asperger's. I knew exactly what he was dealing with. Don't tell me it's not genetic. And while my parents were clueless, I remembered the horrors of my childhood and knew what would have helped me. Matt forced me to go way outside my comfort zone. Like, I had to make friends with other parents so he would have friends, which was terrifying. But by the by, Matt also pays shitloads of money in taxes because he's a respected scientist with a PhD in organic chemistry. And I know plenty of other autistic people who hold jobs and pay taxes so the billionaires don't have to. A friend of ours works on a farm. At first glance, you might think this is J.D. Vance, but look again, he's much more handsome. This is my friend Will. He's on the spectrum. Couldn't speak a word until he was 10. Given the opportunity and a lot of patience, he now can feed the horses, turn them out, clean stalls, fix fences, work independently. Pretty much whatever's needed, and heaven knows he can talk up a storm, holds a job and does it well, and the horses love him. So do the cows. Don't make generalizations about all autistic people, Bobby. Just don't. It's a scare tactic. Controlling people through fear, it's twisted. You're twisted. These are real people with distinct personalities and unique abilities. You piss me off with this garbage that spews from your mouth. Let's go to never play baseball. Oh my goodness. Poor autistic people can't play baseball. Oh, but wait. Isn't there something called the Special Olympics that the Shriver branch of your family founded? Thinking back, because I still can, years ago I had the good fortune to attend that event when it was in New Haven, where I watched hundreds of autistic people play baseball and soccer and basketball and everything else. You're pulling this rubbish out of your butt, tugging on the heartstrings of Americans by lying about baseball and autistic people? What else? Autistic people don't know how to eat apple pie? Let's go out on a date. I have autistic and Down syndrome friends. They post their social lives on Facebook. They date, they go steady, they go to plays and movies, they hike, they take art classes, they go on some really nice vacations. They visit the farm and pet the pigs. Their social lives are 100 times better than mine, which is easy considering I don't really have one. They also ride horses. I've taught dozens of them, many dozens of them to ride. In fact, I broke all the rules. Instead of giving them pony rides with 2 sidewalkers and someone holding the lead line, unlike you, I assumed they could do more. And you know what? They did. Most of them reached the point of riding independently. I had one nonverbal gentleman learn intricate dressage patterns. I was so proud of these people and my horses that I would cry from happiness. Yes, I did, April. Now, my friend Peter was in the double digits before he learned to use the toilet, but he did. Pete's mom is my childhood best friend. Both of us misfits, we lurked really low on the social food chain, total bottom dwellers, so our sympathies always lie with the underdog. Pete was diagnosed autistic as a child, and he was a tough one. But then they discovered a program called Spell to Communicate, or S2C. Nonverbal autistic people learn how to communicate by pointing out letters on a board, and many of them progressed using keyboards on their own. There are doubters everywhere, but for those who have seen the difference when these people learn how to communicate, it's reason to rejoice. I mention Pete because he's a poet. Nonverbal has been described as profoundly autistic, does all the things you describe as being so terrible, but locked inside an uncooperative body, is the mind of a genius. And a poet, Bobby. He writes poems like so many other people who do S2C. He had long ago taught himself to read, but had no way to let anyone know this until his parents took the chance and signed him up for the S2C class. Now, Pete Roche, R-O-S-C-H, writes a blog called Not Otherwise Defined. You can Google him. Before I read his poetry to you, here's his blog that describes what it's like to be in an uncooperative body and the relief of finding the right meds. Trying medicines. Getting the right medicines to help can be difficult, but it can also be life-altering. My parents have been trying to help me, but it was only in the last month that they succeeded. I want to say that Abilify barely made a difference, but I cannot, as it would be a lie. It damn well changed everything. I feel like a new person. Using a scale from 1 to 5, where 5 is the worst possible, my OCD has gone from a 5 to a 2. I can think more clearly and my thoughts are happier. I am calmer by a factor of 1,000,000. So for all you parents who feel guilty for putting your children on meds, maybe it's time to feel guilty for not putting them on meds. I was suffering more than I can say. I am not cured, but I am so much better already, there are no words. For the sake of your suffering children, I can only beg you to consider trying. It can take years and scores of medicines that fail first, but in the end, it's worth it. What does Pete do with what he's learned about meds? Over many years of trying, offer useful advice to other parents that might help their children. Bobby Jr., what are you doing aside from fear-mongering? I know, you believe organic food, fresh air, and farm work removes all needs for these meds. You're wrong. Stop making sweeping generalizations. Just stop. So embarrassed for you. Can they maybe take out the rotting remains of that worm from your brain? Would that help? Or maybe it's just Harvard. Who knows? Anyway, here's a poem by Pete Roche, one of his first. The Warrior Heart. The heart is a fortress made of unbreakable stone, its pillars firmly in the earth. The towers, the mightiest known. It defends us from the storms of life. It guards the wondrous soul. Through all the rockiness that's life, the strong heart will keep us whole. The strong heart is like a warrior wearing armor made of mail, mighty soldier that is a brave heart. It will not let you fail. Believe in the warrior inside you. Have courage and persevere. When life gets really tough, remember, your warrior heart will appear. Now, never write a poem, Bobby? Never write a poem? Oh, there's plenty more where that came from. He's quite good. Bobby, autistic people, they are not useless blobs. People like Pete, they're warriors who overcome tremendous odds. If we focus on actually helping them, get over your bloated ego and learn about them. Now, one more blog post from Thanksgiving of last year here. All right, Thanksgiving 2024. Thursday is Thanksgiving, and I certainly have so much to be thankful for this year. 3+ years ago, my parents took me to New York to say that if I learned to spell, they'd stop bringing me. I'd purposely make mistakes. In fact, until one day, my mother thought to reassure me. Good girl, Marcy. Now, 2 years later, they still drive me down every Monday. How fortunate am I? And feel so lucky. There are no words. Having spent so many years in silence, learning nothing, doing nothing meaningful with my time on Earth, I am now learning new things every day. I have friends both here and in Massachusetts. My family knows me for who I really am. So yeah, on Thanksgiving, I may not be eating the turkey and stuffing, and he won't. He's a French fry guy. But no one will be more thankful than me. I'm sorry. Is Pete a useless blob who has nothing to contribute? Learn, Bobby. Bobby, these are the writings of a non-tax-paying, non-contributing, home-wrecking, autistic young man. I am so honored to know him and so many others like him. You want to help other kids like Pete? Fund other non-speakers so they too can learn spell to communicate. You really want to help Pete? Stop maligning the drugs that help people like him. What are you going to do? Rip Pete away from his parents? Put him on a farm work camp with all the rest of us, whom you don't believe need meds to lead happy, productive lives? You're a crazy man, a brainworm. In the future, please cook your roadkill more thoroughly before you consume it, because your reckless brain is not healthy for us. If you want to make America healthy again, start by taking the Big Macs and Diet Cokes away from your boss. Talk about environmental pollutants affecting a brain. Clear signs of dementia with that one. Bobby, you need to go back to school and re-educate yourself. Pete does a better job of lobbying for special needs people. Try Yale next time. You probably couldn't get accepted. They like cognitive thinkers in their program, not conspiracy theorists. Get help. Sincerely, the Yankee Farm Wife.